Have you ever started cooking and realized halfway through that you missed a step or you haven't prepped something that you needed to prep? This leads to stress and confusion in the kitchen, which is ultimately most of the time what turns people off cooking. By no stretch of the imagination does this mean that you are a worse cook. It just means that you may not be following the recipe the way that the recipe is intended to be followed. So I'm going to try and fix that, but first a little bit of history. The first discovered recipes go back about 4,000 years to early Mesopotamia. These were carved into clay tablets and they were used for royal banquets. However, something crucial, there was no measurements, there was no timings, there was no temperatures. Just a very basic step like boil this and add herbs. And even centuries later, this was still the case. Up until the time of Auguste Escoffier, the godfather of cooking who organised what is now modern French cuisine. Recipes were still written under the assumption that it was being made by a trained chef. It was a reminder, not a tutorial. And then came the home kitchen revolution. Recipes moved from the restaurant to the family table. And that's where it starts to get really special for us now. That's why I have my great-grandmother's copy of Mrs. Beeton's, and I still have my mother's copy of O-Level Cookery, where she put little footnotes in the book. Recipes became more like stories passed down with love. And all of that being said, we are now left with a fairly standardized version of what a recipe should look like. Always remember that the author of the recipe is assuming that you have your prep done. This means that when a recipe says cook for 10 minutes, that means 10 minutes of actual cooking time, not 10 minutes of prep or looking for pans and pots. That's where people can get frustrated, is when they start reading just the plain words of the text, as opposed to the rhythm in which it was written. Before you do anything, read the whole recipe from start to finish. Not just the ingredients list, but the whole thing. This is where you'll spot things like marinate overnight, rest before serving, preheat your oven now. It's like watching a trailer before you watch the movie. Next step, your mise en place. Get your chopping and measuring done. If you need to preheat an oven, preheat your oven. If you need to boil a kettle, boil your kettle. Do all of this before you even think of touching the stove. This is the difference between a nice calm cook and cooking in chaos. Step 3, look out for timing traps. Watch out for terms like meanwhile or while it simmers. These are what we call multitasking cues. Plan ahead so your sauce doesn't burn while you're still chopping potatoes. And the most important step is to trust your senses. If it smells done, check it. If it sounds like it's sizzling too much, turn your pan down. This is where instinct and experience takes over. It's not something you may have straight away, but give yourself the time to learn it. Don't get frustrated if something burns. Make a mental note of what it looked like, smelt like, tastes like. What were the circumstances around said thing burning? So next time you open up a recipe, remember one thing. It's more than just instructions. It's history, art, craft, and family all rolled into one. From ancient recipes on tablets to Escoffier's world, recipes have always been about passing on knowledge. A recipe for this stunning roast tomato and red pepper soup will be up tomorrow. I'll catch you then.